I want to start today's video revealing something that might be a little bit controversial, and that is that I was never a big fan of the original Blackbox. To me, it felt a little bit too much like a computer in a box. I didn't like the lack of hands-on control, and yeah, it wasn't an instrument or groove box that I had a lot of fun with. So that's why it's especially fun for me to be able to reveal to you the 1010music BENTO. And the BENTO fixes a lot of the things that I didn't enjoy with the original Blackbox. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what the BENTO is, and I'm going to show you how to make music with it, as well as talk about what it can't currently do, because the firmware, well, it's in an early stage. And this unit was sent over to me by 1010music for review purposes, but no money changed hands, and I have been providing 1010music with a lot of feedback on things that I want to see improved with it. But with that being said, I just want to thank today's sponsor, DistroKids. If you want to release some music, make sure to go and check out DistroKid. They are linked in the description. They have been supporting the channel for quite some time, and if you have tracks that you want to get on Spotify, Tidal and Apple Music, go and check them out. If you use my link, you get a bit of a discount. Let's talk about what the BENTO is. It's an 8-track sample-based groove box, and it currently has one synth engine, and it's the granular one that we can see here. It's basically like having a lemon drop. It's one of their nano boxes inside of this, and then you can load a bunch of multi-sampled instruments like pianos, for example, or synth sounds. So it's a bit like having multiple nano boxes in one device, and you can load in drum kits. And you can load multi-sample instruments. You can use the slicer track to slice up a loop, and there are loop playback tracks as well. And it can sound something like this. While you can sample into it, the firmware still needs a bit of work. So for example, multi-sampling, it's not in there at the moment. And there's also reverb, there's delay as effect sends, and there's also one modulation effect, a flanger plus distortion, chorus, phaser. I want to be completely honest and say that the firmware that I've been testing on the Bento still needs a bit of work. This is really an early look at it, and you can expect a lot of updates to come over the coming months and years. But something that doesn't need an update is the physical design of it, because it is frankly really well made. Let's just compare it to the Blackbox. So you can see it's a huge difference in terms of size between the two units, and also the way you can interact with the Bento it's totally different than the Blackbox. The Blackbox still has its place. That's why I think they're not calling this the Blackbox 2. I think they still want to have the Blackbox as its own product line, I suppose. A big difference is, of course, that the Bento has a built-in battery, so you don't need to run it using wall power. If we compare the screens, you can see that it's about double the size on the Bento. And I'd say that they're pretty similar in terms of viewing angles. And then you have these 8 endless encoders versus the 4 over here. So that's a huge thing. And then we come to the pads. So we have 16 pads. They are poly aftertouch and they're velocity sensitive. And while the camera doesn't do it justice because it catches all of the reflections, this device is actually usable outdoors. I wouldn't sit in direct sunlight, but as long as there's a bit of shade, I think you have a really nice portable music making machine. But the fact that we have the pads, we have this beautiful big screen here and more hands-on control, and it's portable, battery powered, just makes it a really good instrument. And yeah, it makes it a totally different beast than the Blackbox. If we take a quick look at the back, we have power, we have a USB for power and also data input, and then you have the host input if you want to connect to an external controller. And then we have dual TRS MIDI, 2 in, 2 out, and then we have 3 inputs, stereo inputs, and 3 stereo outputs. They're also DC coupled, and a headphones output over here. And sometimes the build and feel doesn't really translate through the lens of a camera, and I'm gonna be real here. It's a very nice designed instrument. The knobs, for example, feel really nice, quite premium feeling actually, and they have a lot of resistance to them. So overall, the build is very, very good. On the Bento you can take a loop and you can slice it up into different portions and play them back. So here you can see how I've sequenced the different slices here. And there's also loop tracks for triggering loops, and together it can sound something like this.
Looks now, move different, I don't play by the books now. Skewed vision, I swear I've been good looks now. Move different, I don't play by the books now. Skewed vision, I swear I've been good looks now. Move different, I don't play by the books now. Skewed vision, I swear I've been good looks now. Move different, I don't play by the books now.
And when it comes to time stretching, if you slice up a loop, you can adjust the tempo a little bit, but very soon it will start to break apart. And for the loops, there is some sort of time stretching magic going on, because if I load this 120 BPM shaker here and I play it with this beat, You can hear how it's sort of adjusting to the tempo of the beat, but I'm not entirely sure how that works. Next up, I want to show you what it's like to make music on the Bento. So I'm going to show you 2 song examples. The first one is going to be a bit quicker, and then the second one will be slower, going through all the different steps. So I started out with this drum groove here, and then I added a synth bass. The synth bass is made with the granular engine, which takes samples and then turns it into synthy magic. I then recorded this synth sound here, which I think is quite lovely. And while the Bento's song mode isn't quite done as of making this video, it does have a launch mode, so I can launch the different sequences that I've made and tie them into an arrangement. And lastly, I found this vocal sample that I thought kind of fit. Next up, I want to take you through the process of making something from scratch. So here we are, we go here and we press new to create a new project. We clear, we call it Bobeats. Now let's double press here to load something, and then we can just select different categories here of different kinds of sounds. Let's start with some drums. Once we loaded our drums, we can go into the sequencer. Here we see the steps. Now we can put down steps by just pressing like so. And it's a little bit finicky when you're putting down some. You see there, I doubled the sequence. It's a little bit finicky to put down steps on the lowest row. It's very easy to accidentally hit some of these commands here. So here we have 2 different views, event and sequence view. So in the event view, we can select the different steps and make changes to them. For example, probability, velocity, length, and also the starting point. And in sequence view, instead, we have a step count, so we can increase the sequence. We can also double it, just pressing here on the double to make it longer. It adds, of course, notes. If you just change step count, it will not add notes, as you can see here. So by just changing step count, we're not adding notes. And in the sequence view, we can also change the step length here, which changes the resolution of the sequencer. And of course, we can live record. Just hit record and play. Now, if we want to change something with an event, so basically a step that we put down, we go to the event view, and you can see here that we are selecting the event that we want to change. So for example, if we want to change this snare here, we can move it forwards and backwards. We can change the length of it. Doesn't really matter for this sound. We can also change the pad quickly up and down. But when it comes to like putting down notes, it can be, I don't know, it can be a little wonky doing it when you're putting it down by hand. Even if the touch screen is very responsive, it's just not that easy. You see that the grid is very small, and if I want to delete an individual step like this one here, I can just press like so, but it's very easy to accidentally delete something next to it. I could also just go here, select the step and press clear. You can see here, if I try and add it back in, it's very easy to put it in the wrong place. So yeah, it's a little bit finicky and it does need a little bit more work. If you want to clear everything, you just press here, clear sequence, and then you cleared everything. There is no undo function, however, that I've found. So yeah, that might be something that they should add in the future. Now, if we want to, we can also change probability. So you can select an event and then change probability here using this knob here. And when you're in the sequencer mode, you can also hold down and you can drag like this to select multiple notes. And then you can change, for example, the probability if you want to. And you can also then move things around or change the pad and change the length. You can also pinch to zoom in and out of the sequence, which works pretty well. Now let's add another track here. Let's find a bass sound. So the first thing I do is go to sequence, I press double and double again to get a longer sequence, and then we record. Now what we can do now is go to instrument, and here we have a bunch of settings, but what I want to do is I want to set up a modulation. So press here, modulation, and I go down here to filter cutoff, and I select LFO. And we can change the waveform, and let's go to the mixer and we go to delay. We increase the delay for the bass. I don't think so. If we want to, we can just cut the track to remove it quickly, and we can go back here and load something else. So I think that the kick is a bit low. We can select the tracks by just pressing here. I select the track, I go instrument. And since this is a one-shot track, you can see we have all the different one-shots here. And then you can just press edit, select the one that you want to affect. The kick, for example, go to edit. And here we have a bunch of parameters plus modulation. So the same modulation that I showed you previously is available here. So you can set up modulations per sample in a kit. And then there's a bunch of different settings per sample. For example, individual delay and reverb send, as well as filter per sample. So that's pretty nice. So let's increase the level here of the kick drum a bit. And let's say we want to create a new sequence. We go here to launch. There are 4 sequences here per track. And this is not enough. I think they need a lot more than that, but now I do have a bit more to share about the synth here, but first a quick word from today's sponsor, DistroKid. Releasing your music shouldn't be difficult, and using DistroKid is super easy and is a fast and reliable way of getting your tracks onto Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, and other relevant stores. And one thing that I really like is that you pay once a year and then you can upload unlimited amounts of music. One feature that I really like is the hyperfollow feature. So when you've uploaded your music, you get a custom page. DistroKid does this automatically. On that page are links to where people can find your music in different stores. You can just share that one link instead of sharing like multiple links to different stores. So it's just a place where everything's gathered. So if you want to go and check out DistroKid, use my link in the description. You not only support my channel, but you also get a discount. So go and check it out. Next up, I have a list of things that we need to talk about that the Bento currently can't do, and we're also gonna have a sip of the coffee. So I want to make it perfectly clear that I'm not 1010music. I don't know exactly what they will add to this device. I have sent some feature requests to them. I've given them feedback on the current firmware. So first up, and this is in no particular order, there is no automation recording currently, and of course, being able to record automation from, say, here in the instrument view, if you go here to edit, record, for example, changes to overdrive, changes to filter, resonance, for example, pitch changes and so on into the sequencer would be greatly appreciated. That would be a great feature. I want to be able to sample directly into the one-shot track. So here we have a track, it's a one-shot track, it's a kit, a bunch of one-shots here. And if we go here to edit, I want to be able here to sample somehow directly into the kit, and having individual samples be placed on different pads so that I could sample, say, an analog drum machine very quickly into one of the kits. Another thing is that sometimes there's an inconsistency when it comes to whether I'm using the knobs, or I can use the arrow keys, or I'm just scrolling here. So for example, if I double press here, you can see I can scroll here, but I can't use the arrow up and down here to change between different categories, and the knobs doesn't do anything, which is, I don't know, it's a little weird. I thought, you know, I should be able to use the knob here to scroll, for example, the category, and then the second knob to select the preset, for example. And also, I haven't found any way to like preview a preset. I think that's very important. Currently, if we go to launch, there's only 4 sequences here available per track, and of course that's not enough. We need probably something like 8 per track. When the device is playing and I press stop, and I press stop again, it cuts off the samples, but it doesn't cut off the reverb and delay tails, and I would love some way of stopping the reverb and delay, because sometimes it's very annoying when they then press play again and you have the old delay still going and it's not in sync. If we go here to sequence, you can see there is no swing or humanization setting. And I think especially humanization, just making beats a little groovier with just a turn of a knob, for example, setting a percentage, for example, is super important. And currently there is no unquantized recording, but I do think that that's in the works. And on the current firmware, you can save different projects, but you can't save individual presets, which is a little frustrating, and that's something I want to see in the future. So individual presets for the different tracks. So say if you make a cool granular patch, for example, you would want to be able to save that as a preset. Currently, there are no MIDI tracks and no audio tracks. So audio tracks, I mean tracks that are specifically designed for just recording incoming audio. Given the amount of MIDI and audio I/O, I think we'll see MIDI tracks and audio tracks pretty soon. The device doesn't have any sort of arpeggiator or note repeat function, and I think that that would have been a lot of fun to have, especially since it's a portable device. You just want to, bring it up when you're out and about and make some music, and having ARPs ready at the go is just a way to get some instant inspiration. And in general, just having ways to generate rhythms, for example. I'm thinking of the Create Audio drum machine that I showcased recently. It had these randomization features or generative features that you can generate your beats very quickly, and I think that that's really useful, especially on a portable device when you might have just like a couple of minutes, you're sitting on a bus, for example, you want to make some music, and you can easily generate like a drum groove and just have a go. I think that would be valuable. There's currently no audio export feature, but I think they're working on that. But you can record what's going on into one of the loop tracks if you want to, so internally resample. And currently there's not a lot of sampling features implemented on the device. You can sample into a loop track, but you can't do multi-samples, for example, currently. But given that the Blackbox, I think, can do that, and they have the Tangerine that can do multi-sampling, and it's basically the same sort of software in here, I think that we'll see multi-sampling pretty soon. And something that I've told 1010music is that we need more synth engines in the Bento, and I think they might be receptive to that sort of feedback, especially if more people want synth engines. I think they could easily add it. So yeah, I'm hoping for that. If you followed the channel for a while, you know that I hate it when there is no count in for a sequencer. I mean, there has to be a count in, because otherwise you're sitting there, you're waiting until something repeats. It's very annoying. So we need a count in for recording with the metronome. So those were all of my suggestions and ideas, and there's probably other things that I haven't thought about that I should have brought up, but yeah, I think this is plenty enough. I do think that the Bento has a very bright future ahead of it. I mean, they've nailed the most important thing. It's fun to use, and once they've added and refined the sampling capabilities, I think that this could be a future go-to device for anybody who wants like a sampling-based groovebox / workstation, but wants something in a slightly smaller form factor. And yeah, definitely an interesting device, definitely worth checking out. And if you enjoyed today's video, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you go and check out today's sponsor, DistroKid. And as always, have a great day. Talk to you all later.